All right. Okay. You want to pick the folks out there? Let's go right here in the front row.
There's a question from the web first, David.
Oh, okay.
Question from the internet. Somebody asked about the vitamin D that you get from the sun. Should we not put any sunscreen on at all, or?
Well, it's a good point. I was going to make a point on this before. There is an appropriate use of sunscreen. I mean, you want to get a healthy one. We sell on our site, but many health food stores have safe sunscreens that don't have these toxic chemicals in there. And I don't think you should expose your face to too much sun, because photoagents, and we want to look good. And there's no question that too much sun to your face is going to cause premature wrinkling. So I would put sunscreen on your face appropriately. But what I don't personally do that. I use a cap like you're wearing as a baseball cap and keep my eyes in the shade. So then I don't do that. And that also solves another problem, is not having to wear sunglasses, because I don't believe we benefit from wearing sunglasses, because the sunglasses are plastic. They filter out, especially most of them all filter UVA, and you need ultraviolet radiation on your retina for brain health. So there's 1,500 wavelengths in the sun, and ideally you don't want to be wearing sunglasses. So I would be cautiously use the sunscreen. And ideally, if you've exhausted your time in the sun, you've gotten too much, then just put clothing on or go in the shade, and that'll work.
Great. Okay, you had a question up here in the front.
I was just curious what you thought of the Candida diet.
Well, interestingly, the Candida diet is generally useful because it's low sugar, and that you really, Dr. William Crook is the person who popularized that, and I know enormous debt of respect for him, because it's actually Dr. Crook's work that got me into natural medicine. And I didn't believe him at first. In the mid-'80s, I tried his approach and used drugs to treat the yeast and didn't do the diet. And you know what? It doesn't work. So I abandoned it, and like 6 years later, I got a little smarter and realized you got to use the diet. And the diet does work. It's very powerful. But you need a comprehensive strategy and fine-tune it based on some of the principles we reviewed.
It's called the yeast-free diet, isn't it? Isn't that the name of the book?
Well, it's not so much. The
yeast connection.
Yeast connection.
Yeah,
it's not so much that yeast is eliminated too, but it's also foods that promote yeast growth.
Okay, let's go in the back over here. This woman right here, stand up in the black sweater, it looks like. Yes, you. Thank you.
I promised some of my patients and coworkers that I would try to find out from either one of you what is a good supplement, something natural that pregnant patients can take in that first trimester when they're so bothered by the nausea and vomiting.
That's an excellent question. Wow.
I can.
There
used to be a drug on the market that has now been taken off because of liability reasons that had vitamin B6, pyridoxine, and an antihistamine. Actually, you can look it up on my website. I forget the name of there's that antihistamine. You can get them both available now, not as a prescription drug. But the B6, I think 25 milligrams or so of the B6. But a lot of it is related to the diet. I like ginger for nausea, so I would just take ginger. Personally, it's phenomenal you don't need much. You just take a little bit, and you chop it up, and you swallow it like a pill. Fresh ginger, not the ginger capsule. Fresh ginger is an herb. So I would try that first, and then I would try the pyridoxine with an antihistamine, like a Sominex, I think it is. So the combination seems to work really well. But I kind of stay away from the drugs if you can.
Now, just on that, because that's such a good question about pregnancy and nutrition. Do you want to hear a little bit about that? Like what is really key? Vitamin B12 is very key. DHA is very important, which is the long-chain omega-3 that's in the krill oil. It's also in blue-green algae. It's very important. Docosahexaenic acid. Another thing is making sure you have enough protein in your diet. Really, superfoods solve that problem completely. There's so much bioavailable protein in marine phytoplankton, in maca, in goji berries, in spirulina, in bee pollen, in royal jelly, in hemp seed, and hemp protein, that if you have all that kind of stuff, you are getting a lot of bioavailable protein. Uniquely, we've never really had that ability to have all that before. Other things of consideration here is that when you have a very strong omega-3 fatty acid like a krill oil, you want the exact opposite energy substance as well, which is coconut oil. And you can actually rub coconut oil or cacao butter right into your tummy, so as you are developing that fetus, you don't ruin your skin. And you've seen that before. We get some stretch marks in here. And I've known many women over the years who've used cacao butter and coconut oil together and just rubbed it in, and we're able to build up the child without stretching their skin, and everything came back to normal afterwards. Now, there's one more thing I do want to mention here, and that is we have some excellent Chinese herbalists here. There's a great Chinese herb called Eucommia bark. Eucommia, very strongly recommended for pregnancy. Why? Because it maintains the elasticity of the tissues, and it's very highly recommended if someone's had a history of miscarriages. So I wanted to put that out there as well.
Now, Let me just comment on it too. See, traditionally, for supplementation, is folic acid is the supplement for pregnancy to prevent neural tube defects. But you really don't need that, and the best, most potent form of folic acid is from vegetables. There's no question. But the supplement you do need, and the one I mentioned in the lecture, is vitamin D3. It is absolutely malpractice not to make sure that the pregnant woman's vitamin D3 levels are not optimized. They got to be optimized to prevent type 1 diabetes, autism, ADHD, preeclampsia, and premature delivery. So.
Now there's a gentleman in the back there. He's had his hand up. He must have a real question. This is like welcome back Cotter over here. Okay, what do we got?
Thank you for allowing me to ask this. In dealing with eliminating sugar from the diet, stevia has been proposed as a good substitute. Are you familiar with a product called Truvia, which is unfortunately made by Cargill, but it is an alternative to using the poor taste of stevia? So I was just curious if you had any input on that.
I'm not familiar with that product.
It's an extract from stevia, and interestingly, as a side to that, you know, I think did I mention it's illegal to sell stevia as a sweetener? Yeah, okay, good. But this is not. This is an exception, so they're jumping on the bandwagon to do that. It's probably okay, as far as we know, but why not use the real thing? And it has all the other constituents. Just like when you take an extract from some of these herbs, it's not the extract, it's just the whole herb that works. So I would be concerned. I don't know of any studies on it, though, so it's just a gut feeling.
Any gardeners in the room, just by a show of hands? Stevia is capable of growing in almost every ecosystem. I saw it growing in the parking lot in Mana Foods in Maui the other day. I was like, that's stevia right there. So it's something you can easily grow yourself in almost every ecosystem that you live in. It's a wonderful kind of false sweetener. If you mix it with licorice, maybe a little bit of gynostema, you can make up for some of the deficit of being on a low sugar diet and give yourself something that reasonably tastes good.
Oh, yeah.
That's important. You know, things have to taste good.
Yeah.
Okay, a lot of questions going up. You want to pick the next person?
No, on the stevia too. You get my choice for that is just to get it with the other flavors like English toffee or French vanilla stevia. They have it as a liquid. Phenomenal. That's what they use in some of these elixirs too. Truth uses it, and it is phenomenally good tasting. You can pick them, David.
Okay, let's see. Let's go way over on this side of the room. Yes, you in the white shirt back there. Yes.
Hi, Dr. Mercola. I wanted to know how much B12 we should be taking. Plus, you had mentioned something about after 7 years it can be problematic, and why is that? And you know, how should we be doing it?
Well, after 7 years, your liver supply falls apart. I mean, that's how much your liver can hold for about 7 years. So I think the dose is about 1 milligram, maybe a week or so. A few sprays under your tongue should do it.
Is that 1,000 micrograms?
1,000 micrograms, yeah. So interestingly, there's no. The B12 also has other benefits. It actually helps replenish ATP from the mitochondria. So many people actually use the B12, especially people in my office, one of the employees. They use it like a substitute for coffee. They get a few squirts and they're full of energy. It's like amazing stuff. So if you're healthy, I don't think you'll notice it. I mean, if you're optimized, but from people who are not, that's a pretty powerful benefit. I don't think B12 is a high.
B12 must come from animal sources,
Yeah.
and meat isn't that great a source. Dairy isn't really that great a source. Really, the best natural source is insects. It always has been. Now, we get that, you know, like you see the chimpanzees with the little stick going in for the ants. You remember that? Now, this is nothing new in Chinese medicine. It's nothing new in Native American medicine either. And if you look at the Chinese medicine books and the Native American herbal books, you will see that the ant is ranked right up there with the top herbs in the world, including reishi mushroom, ginseng, gynostema, ho shu wu, the greatest herbs in the world, astragalus. The ant is ranked equal with all of those. So I'm just putting that out there because I was exposed to like Jane Goodall, and I was like, well, oh my God, they're eating ants. I didn't eat ants as a kid, but it is something to consider. Let's go flying all the way to this side. Sola Eriks over there, our representative from Iceland. Why don't you stand up, and what question do you have?
Yeah, hi, Dr. Mercola, and thank you very much. I would like to ask you, what food would you start to feed infant after 6 months breastfeeding? And how about superfoods and infants?
I think superfood is a great idea. And I'm not pediatrics is not one of my specialties, but I know the traditional recommendation is once they start getting their teeth, which occurs about 3 months, is to feed them cereals. I can tell you that's a mistake. I would stay away from cereals and grains. And I would probably substitute pureed vegetables that you make freshly at home. And don't buy the stuff at the store. Just get the fresh, organic, raw vegetables, puree them up, maybe put a little something that they like, and then gradually just give them the table food that you're normally eating to tolerance, the ones that they like. I don't know that there's any special sequence. Maybe you have some better comments on it, David.
But hydrated goji berries are really good, where you hydrate them so they soften up, and actually a child can actually drink the goji berry water even without the goji berry in it. That's really excellent. Another thing that's really good, of course, is avocado. That really should be a child's first food. Something to consider. And then, if you go across superfoods, people ask me all the time, are medicinal mushrooms okay for children? The answer is yes. Very safe for children. The only contraindication is if there's a mushroom allergy, which does happen. And then I get questions about maca. Is maca okay for a 2-year-old? And the answer is yes. Maca has been traditionally fed to children. It's been known to increase vigor and vitality for children who fail to thrive, the failure to thrive syndrome. Traditional remedy in Peru is maca. Okay, let's go to this side of the room. Right here in the front. I love people in the front row. How you doing? We're going to wait for that microphone to come on up. We got our microphone crew on it. They're fast today, huh? Thank you.
Hi. My question is, when I go out into the sun to get some vitamin D, do I need to take my contact lenses out?
That's an excellent question.
Ideally, it would be best to do that because the contact lens is a filter, which brings up another point that I forgot to mention is that that's actually better as a solution. But there are approaches that you can get rid of your contact lenses or your glasses that are based on actually a century-old work from Dr. William Bates. B-A-T-E-S, you can look it up on the internet. There's a lot of good work. Actually, I use that to get rid of my reading glasses. So I don't have reading glasses anymore. And unless it's really dark or very fine print, I can see it really pretty well. But that works for astigmatisms or other types where you have myopias. You might have to progressively decrease the strength of your lenses. But yeah, that will block it. So ideally, you'd be out there without your lenses because it's still going to block it. Yeah.
Immediately, that brought up this idea of sun gazing, which I just want to reference briefly. If you sun gaze, I've done 65 minutes of sun gazing a day up to that far, and it's not good, actually. It's too much. So, right, because you're starting when the sun's too high, or you're staying too long as the sun rises in the morning, and so there is an overkill on it. My feeling after a dozen years of sun gazing is that you want just that last juicy minute. That one solar disk of distance as the sun goes down that's where the magic is. Barefoot, preferably on stone or on sand or on a non-conductive wet surface, a semi-conductive surface is really ideal. And then in that case, you would want to take your glasses off or your contacts out.
Did you notice any benefits when you did it?
I love sun gazing. It's like I kind of have to do it. So whenever I do these conferences, a lot of times I'm always like, oh, it's like sun gazing time, and I can't quite do it. Anyway, let's stay on this side of the room. Right here, this woman just behind you. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. McCullough or David. Many times for low thyroid, iodine is recommended. Is that a good supplement to take when one has the Hashimoto's thyroid? The autoimmune?
I think it is, yes. And that's an autoimmune disease, and you actually can treat it with that. But you want to be careful about the type of thyroid iodine that you're using. Ideally, as a preventive, the best form is from like seaweed. That'd be the best form.
And actually, kelp has been recommended because other seaweeds may contain iodine, but doesn't work as good as kelp for some reason. Mm-hmm. Like dulse, for example, doesn't work like kelp does. So that's something to consider because everybody eats seaweed dulse, like raw food people. They love dulse like crazy. It's the best thing ever. But it doesn't have the same effect on your thyroid as kelp has. So that's another point on that. What do you think of Lugol's iodine?
Yeah, I do not recommend. I strongly advise against Lugol's. Do not use Lugol's as an alternative. And I've got some references and papers on the site. Just type in Lugol's and you'll find it. But use potassium iodide because the iodide is what you need, and it's dirt cheap. You can get it as SSKI, supersaturated potassium iodide, and a bottle, a 4-ounce bottle, will probably cost you $10, $15 and last you 5 years.
What's wrong with Lugol's?
There's a lot of problems with it. I don't want to go into the details. Just look it up on the site.
Okay, let's go right back here. Yes, you, way in the back. You're waving your arms, sure. It's going to be like Welcome back, Cotter. Remember Arnold Horseshack? Ooh, 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 ooh. It's going to have to be like that, the squeaky gear. Okay.
I have a question, but I don't know how to say it. It's a gallbladder cleanse. Do you know gallbladder cleanse? Okay, I have a question. Is it good to do it or is it bad to do it? Should we do it? There are different opinions.
Well, okay, I'm going to defer that to Dr. Stuart Blakey, who's here, who's done at least 70 of them on himself. And I would guess at this point he's probably the world authority on the subject. Now, I've done probably 2 or 3 with him, and I've done about maybe 6 or 7 in my life. There's some problems with gallbladder cleansing and liver cleansing, and that is if we have a real accumulation of stones and a real problem, then we need to go to a different approach or different strategy. And I had a very good friend of mine who, after many, many years, I think it might have been even 8 years of trying to figure out his gallbladder situation, finally opted to have it removed. And actually, he said, like, look, I've lost good friends of mine and I lost my gallbladder, but life goes on. So in certain cases, when it's a long battle, it's just like sometimes with a tumor or something like that, you may have to opt for what is not the natural choice, but what is an option for you, which is a surgery. So I want to put that out there because not every time are we going to get the results that we want using the natural methods, and thank God we have the backup systems.
You could kill you if you have acute cholecystitis and you don't remove it. You can die from an infection, no question. But the key is to prevent it from getting to that point, and you could easily do that by modifying your diet. Now, for those of you who've had your gallbladder removed, or those of you who have friends or family who've had it removed, that's a real issue because you know what? Every surgeon doesn't tell you. They say, oh, you don't need the gallbladder, it doesn't do anything. Well, if they remove your gallbladder, you are condemned to a lifespan of requiring to compensate for that. And that is the gallbladder does something. It secretes bile, it helps you digest your food. So you've got to be taking lipase every time you have fat. You have to take a lipase enzyme.
Very important.
And
Thank you.
There's a supplement from Biotics called beta-TCP, which will also help compensate for that. But it is just huge. And I can't tell all the patients I saw in my practice who had their gallbladders removed before they got to see me.
And one more thing I have to say, and are you ready, Dave?
What's that now?
Something very important I have to tell you.
Okay.
Are you ready?
I am the most ready person ever.
We want to thank you so much for being here and spreading the word of health and bringing such amazing guests. Very, very much appreciated.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Of course, it's not just me alone. Of course not. It's a whole team of folks. And maybe this is the moment, because we're getting late in the day here. It's been about 20 minutes, right? Where we have had an entire crew of volunteers. We've had a tremendous staff on our AV. We've had a tremendous crew of vendors and groups out there that have sponsored this event.
You can definitely wait on this because they're all away.
Okay, but I just want to say also, Len and Rebecca, who are tremendous believers in me. I mean, I connected with them. It's getting close to 10 years ago. I connected with them, and Len said, I believe in what you're doing, and I want to help. And he's been there supporting all along. So thanks to all of them as well. Okay.
Okay, David, a couple more questions from the internet.
A couple more questions from the internet.
A lot of them are coming through. So one of them is for Dr. Mercola about if you could touch more on why cereal is bad for children.
Well, my first book, which is New York Times bestseller, was called The No Grain Diet. But it wasn't my decision to use that as a title. But as I said earlier, 80% of the population has insulin resistance. And when you have that, when you introduce additional carbohydrates, specifically in the forms of grains, it causes a problem. Now, the most commonly used grain is wheat, of course, and lots of people have gluten intolerance. And in fact, anyone who comes to our clinic, the very first step that we do, and the very first step of nutritional typing is going to a gluten-free diet and see what happens. Now, you may be okay with gluten, some people are, but many people have problems with it. So it's just a general idea. Most of the people in this room could probably tolerate cereals very well because you're totally atypical. You're in the top 1% of the population. So, the recommendation is based to the whole population. It's not a very specific groups.
Okay, question right here. Microphone's coming.
Thank you. In reference to our seniors, the pillars of our society, we can't forget them. Alzheimer's, dementia, senility, whatever we want to call it, even for healthy people, it's running rampant. Is there a medicinal mushroom? Lion's mane, you know? Do you know anything to, Netta, I know it's a cumulative disease, but is there a little bit of a cure, a miracle cure-all, or a helper out there?
Great question. Do you want to answer that and then I can follow up? Do you have any ideas?
Well, my approach is, an ounce of prevention is worth, 25 pounds of cure. So you got to get your vitamin D levels up. You got to avoid toxins like mercury and aluminum and fluoride. I mean, there are no neurodegenerative challenges. So you do that first. And then there's a lot of times if those toxic heavy metals are an issue, you have detoxification processes to remove them from the brain. And I don't specialize in Alzheimer's, but there are some strategies and therapeutic recommendations, strategies that do work pretty well, and that can actually reverse a lot of Alzheimer's.
So
it's not terminal.
Cleanse, nourish, detoxify. So I'm glad he brought up that detoxify piece, because that is so important. I mean, the reason why we have dementia, from a spiritual perspective, it's kind of like we had a massive party, then we had a hangover, and then we realized we forgot what happened at the party because we were so drunk. That's really kind of how I look at it. It's like that's really what Alzheimer's is. And so we've got to now come into this thing of moving away from numbing ourselves, go into the pain, the reality, whatever it is that we are trying to run away from, move into it, and we can approach it in many different ways. First, detoxify. Second, we nourish. How do we nourish? We get the substances inside our body that build up our nervous system. Most of our nervous system is formed at a young age. So this is an area, it takes a while for those waves to wash in and change the shape of the beach. You bring in the strategies. I really try to summarize those strategies on page 161 of my Superfoods book. It's a brain, eye, nervous system formula. And what it is it's like krill oil, megahydrate, reishi mushroom, the berries, which we know have a particular propensity to get into the brain. What else is in there? Coconut oil, which is the counter opposite to the krill oil, right? So that we actually get that mystical union of the opposites. There's been a lot of research that's shown that when you bring something like a krill oil in or any omega-3 with coconut oil, you double the availability of both. So that's something to consider. And then, you can put a little bit of cacao in there. Now, there's been a lot of talk about this. Is cacao good? Is it bad? Is it a brain food? Is it not? And if you don't have a caboose full of bad guys and your adrenals are in good shape, it's a great thing to have occasionally, and it's a celebratory food. It's also a very powerful brain food, and we know it turns off certain areas of the brain and turns on certain areas of the brain, which is very specific for MS. Right? That particular nervous system disorder, cacao is very specific for that. So that's something to consider as well. And we could go on with this conversation. Obviously, we've got to look at all the fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds, seaweeds, grasses, sprouts, flowers, the herbalism behind it. There's a whole herbal component here, medicinal mushrooms. Reishi comes first, lion's mane second, chaga third in that list. Reishi, lion's mane, chaga. And it's going to be a holistic strategy. And one last note there is we want to stack the odds in our favor whenever possible, and that's how we approach all our healing. I was talking with Nick Ortner earlier, who Dr. Mercola mentioned with the tapping, and he healed himself of a very serious skin condition, which I mentioned last night. And one of the things that he said it's just you stack the odds in your favor. You just keep adding all the things that are good, and eventually it overwhelms and turns the tide, and you get into prevention, which is really cure. Okay. Okay, right here in the front row, how are you doing? Wait, we're waiting for that microphone. You're good. You're like, where's the microphone?
Okay, you broke my heart on the agave thing. I think I actually first learned about it from your website, David. I think so.
There's a question that comes up, am I a member of Sun Food Nutrition? I'm not. I'm not part of Sun Food Nutrition.
Okay.
So I'm just putting that out there. And in business, you find that you just have different theories and disagreements on certain things. And eventually, for me personally, I want to move away from that side of the industry and move more into an objective point in the industry, because I like so many things that are out there. But I am a big believer in what Dr. Mercola is saying about agave. And the person who enlightened me to it originally was actually Robert Williams of Ultimate Superfoods. And he came to me and he said, look, You want to hear about what's going on with agave? Because, and actually, Dr. McCullough and I were talking about this earlier today. Agave, we're talking about the tequila industry. And I'm just going to kind of hint at what we're dealing with here. We're dealing with mafias and some of the fiercest mafias in the world. Just to put that out there, I grew up in San Diego. A big chunk of my life, we went to Tijuana 3 times a week. And you see the wanted posters. Do you remember those? With the top, like, you know, thugs in Mexico. And I remember a couple of those guys were in the tequila industry. And you can talk to Robert. He's here tonight. You can talk to Dr. Mercola about it. But definitely research and look at what Dr. Lustig has put out there on the internet. And was it Dr. Johnson? Dr. Richard Johnson.
He wrote a book, which is really the best book on the topic, called The Sugar Fix. Really is phenomenal. And if if you don't believe me or any of the experts, then just listen to your body and check your uric acid level. If your uric acid is below 5, you're probably okay. I don't think it would be if you're having agave. I would be shocked if it was. And so your body will tell you.
Okay, God, this is great. Okay, right, yes, you. Stand up, please. Wait, we're getting a mic. Hold on. Here he comes. Right here, in the front.
Dr. McCullough, a question about nasal polyps. I have reoccurring nasal polyps, and for 15 years I've been trying everything holistic. Didn't fix it, had to go and cut it out. To avoid nasal steroids, what is a strong anti-inflammatory, maybe David, you as well, which could replace soon the nasal steroids, which I have to use?
Well, it's an allergic reaction. You want to get rid of the allergy. There's a lot of strategies to do that. Actually, like EFT and some other components and energy techniques can remove the allergy. So you want to do that first and remove yourself from allergens if it's possible. And then there's obviously supporting botanicals that can use to do that. And David's a better expert at that than I am.
There's a lot you can do in this particular area. One of the things that I was turned on to years and years ago, I love this too, this is so interesting and neat, is the pharmaceutical industry has developed nebulizers. Okay, so a lot of us have basically kind of a subcutaneous infection in our sinuses here or in here, and this may be what you're dealing with. One of the things we know is that you can take colloidal silver, kills that stuff like that, but how do you get it to there? And one of the things you can do is you can take liquid colloidal silver, especially this kind of stuff that the mineral guy has. Where's he at? That big M, that guy, he's over here, and he's got the silver, which is nanonized silver. And what you would do is you actually would nebulize it, so it basically turns it into a vapor, and you breathe it in, and it goes right in there and just kills everything off that is inappropriately present there. You see the strategy that's going on? You would then take the angstrom calcium or the micronized calcium, which it's actually completely taken all the way to the metal. So all the golems are taken out. Everything is taken out, and then you would breathe that in order to draw off the junk that is left over, the debris from the dead bacteria, virus, fungus, mold, whatever it is that is actually causing the infection. There's also electronic medicine that can be used, a little zapper right here. You know, like, see if I got this.
Yeah.
Like, you can't believe how amazing this is. Just like that. I can see it in my eyes. Eyes are going, you really. And a lot of times I'm driving down the highway and I'm like this. People think I'm on a cell phone. Now, the reason why I do that is because I noticed there's a spot right here in my gums that from citrus fruit, if I do a lot of citrus fruit, it gets irritated. One day I started doing this. I'm like, maybe this will help. The problem went away forever.
Wow, okay. All right, thank you.
You know what that means? It means that the gum disease can be broken down or affected by a little tool like this. This is a Terminator 2 zapper. Don Croft's here and has an amazing ability to break down certain harmful bacteria and viruses. So something to consider as well. When you do that, you get it right into the channel where your nose is, right along those meridians, and you can get a lot of help right away.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's this micronized calcium. We call it angstrom calcium. It's a liquid calcium. Calcium's overrated. You do need calcium definitely from your vegetables, no question about it. If we were cavemen, we'd get it from bone marrow, right? I mean, that's how it was done in the past, right? But really, do we need all this calcium? And the answer is magnesium is a much more important mineral today than calcium is. Okay, where should we go? What do you think next?
In the black, right here.
Right there in the black, okay.
No, you need a microphone. Yes, no.
I'll repeat the question.
There's a
here it comes. It's coming down the line.
My question, Dr. McCullough, and it's very nice to meet you. is how do you test, what is the test to see if your adrenals are out of whack? Your adrenal glands.
Well, there's a variety of different ways you can do that, 24-hour urine test and such, but the one that we use in our clinic is a salivary test. It's a RIA assay that's done in a number of different salivary measurements. I think you do like 4 a day. I think we use BioHealth out of California. Dr. Bill Timmons, whose lab passed away recently.
Okay, so we got time for just maybe a couple more questions. All right, right here in the front. Yes, you.
Yeah, I wasn't too sure if I wanted to ask this question, but I had full-blown AIDS in 2001 and been a raw foodist for 25 years as of last weekend. And via Truth Calkins and Donna Gates and all, I am controlling the virus. And then via theta healing, I've become HIV negative. I've had 2 tests. And the thing I'm concerned about, and I wanted to ask you guys, is in my research, looking on my own before I found truth, is all the conspiracy that's within AIDS, is that it was created, that it's been patented and shelved, the cure. And I was wondering if you could comment on that.
Well, did you take the drugs?
I did, and I was getting really, really messed up.
Yeah, that's called the clue. So, yeah, actually, it's surprising that you did so well taking the drugs. My understanding is once you take them, it's almost irreversible. So the key to treating AIDS is not to take drugs, and to do the things that you did, which will restore your immune system. So there's, I don't want to go into conspiracy things. There's a lot of, you can just type that in and find a lot of information. I haven't had time to research it enough to know if it is a conspiracy, but.
I'm thinking of the German scientists. I had a very interesting thing happen, actually, when I was in college. Below my apartment was a libertarian group that brought the guy who discovered retroviruses, Dr. What was his name?
Luc Montagnier?
Nope. Duesberg, Dr.
Peter
Duesberg.
Peter Duesberg,
So
yeah.
he was staying downstairs.
Yeah,
so I didn't know anything about conspiracy theories.
He's actually the leader. I forgot his name, but that's the guy. I would look up his stuff. He's the major. Yeah.
That's the right way, but I mean, in
Yeah.
terms of like
conspiracy.
HIV is obviously not the only causative factor. There are probably other viruses involved, and maybe other bacteria, and perhaps even calcium-forming organisms, and there could be a whole guild of different things involved. Now, are there genetically modified organisms out there that have been deliberately introduced in the human population? Probably. I mean, based on the research, probably.
I just wanted to say also, I was a raw foodist 12 years before it all happened. So.
Yeah, and see, this is very important too, because just being a raw foodist is kind of baseline and very good nutrition. At the same time, the reason why we are going to the next level here and why we get into vitamin D3 and why we get into B12, why we get into things like the deer antler, why we get into the things like the great herbs of the world, the Chinese herbs, the Ayurvedic herbs, the Amazonian herbs, is because, and the mushrooms, is we need that rounded out picture in order to fortify our immunity into a level of real longevity and invincibility. It's a holistic picture. Raw food is a great source of calories. It doesn't have to be your only source of calories to be healthy, but it is a great thing because it's so pure. But is it really going to protect you from the intensity of the types of viruses that are out there? And the answer is probably not.
Yeah.
Probably not.
And
Okay.
emotions.
There was another question from the web about, for both of you, regarding your thoughts on Dr. Gerson, Max Gerson's books and theories.
You want to take that? You know Dr. Gerson, Charlotte Gerson.
I know of him, but I haven't really. What is the big proponent of this Gerson? Is it the cancer treatments? Or?
13 juices a day, 13 carrot juices a day, desiccated liver for the enzymes, basically flushing the system out, a raw food program. Now, there has been a big problem with Gerson's approach, in my opinion. Everything else is spot on, excellent anti-cancer approach. The issue that I've had is people come to me and they're flipped out on the sugar with the 13 carrot juices a day. And then they can't come off of it and they don't know what to do. And so that has happened in my career, that people have come to me and they're like, they're sugared out, right? Every hour they're drinking sugar, right, essentially. Because carrot juice is great if we're on Dr. Pepper, isn't it? So we've got to be reasonable about our approach, and that's why Dr. Walker and Dr. Bernard Jensen, and both of the 65 years of research each, they both arrived at celery juice, celery-based juices. And of course, for all the reasons that have been discussed here at the longevity conference all weekend long, we know why that is. Okay. Do we have time for one more question out there? Right here, yes, this young lady right here. Okay. Okay, look at you. All right, we'll get you next. We're running up here with a microphone.
My question is about childhood vaccines. And I live in New York, because all over the States is different. And my daughter's 5 years old, and I've been able to not vaccinate her. But now kindergarten is forcing it upon me. And I don't know, besides homeschooling, I don't know what to do.
Well, homeschooling is one option, of course. It's not an easy one for most. But it's definitely one option. There are 14 states in the country that have philosophical exemptions. I believe California is one of them, so you
And
just
New
have to
York
write a
is not one
statement.
of them.
Yeah, New York. I think New Jersey is even worse. They're really bad, New Jersey, so you'd be grateful you don't live there. With respect to vaccines, but if you look on my site, there's a number of different strategies you can use. You can get a medical exemption. You can get a religious exemption. And if you follow the rules, a lot of times it's just a public health nurse, and unless on some crusade, they're not going to be a problem. So that would be the workaround. And there's specific religious exemptions are allowed. There's only 2 states in the union that don't allow it. Doesn't matter. It's still allowed. It's by the law, so you just have to follow it. Yeah.
They try to bully you, obviously, right? So you just have to tough it out. There's a lot of mothers going through this right now. Thanks for holding out. Thank you. I do want to put this out there. I'm not going to name any names, but a very dear friend of mine had a son. She resisted the vaccination. The father was into conventional. Around the age of 13, finally, the father was able to vaccinate the child. 1 month later, leukemia showed up. So I just don't know if there's a connection there, but you probably can figure that out. And so we have to be very, very careful about just what these derivative conditions are that aren't, quote unquote, associated with a vaccine, causally in the literature, but through our own observation, we might come to a different result or conclusion. Now, we've had a squeaky wheel in the back over here. Let's get her a microphone.
Okay, one more important question, please. There are a lot more MS cases today, and I just happen to be supposedly one of them. I don't know if I'm going to claim this or not, but I was diagnosed at the age of 24 because I had too much mercury and too much arsenic in my system, and they said, somebody trying to kill you, and I thought, not that I know about. But the question was, you said something about the cacao is used for MS, and then D3 has a different composition level for MS, and would you care to share some of that?
Sure. Well, one of the things we know about MS is there is a causal relationship between shoe wearing and MS. And this is something that's been charted out. Where humans have worn the most shoes, we have the most MS. And so now what's happening is if we never have to wear shoes because our natural foot is perfect already. And if we're getting distortions in our feet, the only way we can really get the electricity to flow back and return things back to normal is start walking on a beach and begin to slowly rehabilitate our feet. And by the way, I started going barefoot 2 years ago and got into the barefoot revolution. And one of the things that happened for me is I actually found out that I had to rehabilitate my feet from wearing shoes. We all do. Because our toes are basically cast into a cast. Right? And so we want to make sure that we allow that energy to flow from the earth, and it's especially good to walk the beach right at the ocean line. So you get that electrolytic energy from the ocean. Now, all of the things that we're talking about here, especially when I was talking about nervous system rejuvenation, can be very helpful to you. I've known dozens of people over the years who've completely recovered from MS. Completely recovered, complete recovery. And one of the first ones I met way back when, actually it was just south of St. Louis, a couple hours, we were doing a retreat down there, and he actually recovered not only through raw and living foods and superfoods and some of those things, but one of the key ideas he says is about mineralization. Minerals helped him to recover. And complete recovery, total recovery. He had no symptoms at all. He was in bed. He could not even get up.
Yeah, let me comment on that one too, because when an MS patient used to come to my office, I used to cringe because there really wasn't a lot I could do. Then, as I progressed in my knowledge of natural health, there was a lot of things, and it's very rare, especially with an early MS patient, we don't get 100% recovery. It's almost universal. The things that I learned are there's an alternate explanation for the barefoot, because as you go south, and which is one of the reasons I go south. I'm not in Chicago in the winter, and I absolutely enjoy walking barefoot and love that, but there's more sun. So your vitamin D levels go up. So I think it's absolutely critical. You have to be at 75 nanograms per milliliter, and I would measure it every week until it was. That is just malpractice not to do it otherwise. And then that's true for all the autoimmune disease, inflammatory bowel disease, MS, diabetes type 1 is too late, rheumatoid arthritis. And the other thing that I've noticed, because I treated 3,000 rheumatoid patients, it's real similar. The process is almost every one of those conditions has an associated emotional trauma that occurred before the age of 5. If you do not address that emotional trauma, you will not get them better typically. It's surprising you don't. Maybe they treat it some other way, but that is huge. It's absolutely huge. And then we use nutritional typing, and the key was raw food. And many of the patients that we saw, we typed them as protein types. They needed lots of protein, and they had to eat raw meat. Cooked meat isn't going to do it. And actually, I saw a person here today, actually Bob. Bob is Bob's right there. Stand up, Bob. Now, Bob was 5'6" before he came to our practice. But we got him on raw meat, and it changed his life. All his symptoms basically disappeared. Yeah, he can tell you specifics, but I don't remember the details. But it really did work. So raw, you've got to go raw, and you need close to 100% if you've got some serious condition like that. We wouldn't even take them if they weren't willing to make that commitment.
Okay. How are we doing? We got enough time for one more question? One more. Okay, let's go to this side of the room. This woman right here in the blue and the red glasses.
Hi. I was registered last year for the conference, and I actually was hospitalized during last year's conference, so I'm really happy to be here. And my question is this. I went into kidney failure, and I'm on dialysis. A lot of the things that I hear and that I've been reading and hearing from both of you actually, not just now, but through other sources, through your websites and stuff. I'm not sure how they apply to me now. And my doctors, nephrologists, I cannot ask them a question. They don't know a thing about it. And so my question is, being on dialysis, are there any specific recommendations that either of you can make for people on dialysis?
It's a very hard one. You need a specific consultation for that because there's a lot of specifics to go into it. The key, though, is to prevent it from happening. As a person who had actually had some kidney challenges, uric acid is huge, and the fructose ingestion. That is one of the major factors for progressing, contributing to the progress of renal failure. So you've got to get off fructose. But when you have it, it's definitely a challenge. Vitamin D is an issue, and there's phosphate metabolism, calcium. It's a mess. It's an absolute mess. Fortunately, the good news is, and this is really good news, is that if you can hold out and stay healthy as long as you can, there will be substitute kidneys that they're making from either stem cells, primarily stem cells, that they'll be able to transplant without the dangers of kidney transplant and the anti-rejection drugs, because that's almost going to kill you in another 5 or 10 years down the road. But it's definitely a serious problem.
Now, I would recommend, because this is such a serious issue, and the kidneys in a Chinese medicine perspective are the most difficult thing to keep in balance, that I would seek after Chinese medical authorities like George Lamoureux, talk to him about it, because it's a very delicate chemistry. And once the kidneys are out, then that's probably the most difficult situation to deal with. I do want to say this on top of that, because some of us are going, okay, I don't want to get there. What do I do to prevent? Cucumber is #1 kidney food. Anything in the melon family. Now, cucumber actually has a repsin in it, which is an enzyme that chews up the excess protein that gets caught up in our filters.
Interesting.
Right. So, in particular, it's cooked, agglutinated, coagulated protein gets caught up, and a repsin fries it down. That's in cucumbers. Everything in the melon family is a very good kidney cleanser, and there's a tremendous variety of herbs,
Would you
teas.
peel it? Would you peel the skin?
I would peel the skin of cucumbers unless I grew it myself.
Okay.
And then why? It's because I've looked at the cucumbers and it's like they're waxing it or something's going on. Do you wonder about this? They're doing something to it. So I can't ever eat the skin of a cucumber if I buy it in a store. Certainly if I grow it at home, I eat the whole thing. And cucumber to me is one of the top foods in the world anyway.
Wow.
I've known people actually over the years, people come to me with their healing stories. I've known people who've done just cucumber and sunflower seeds for 3 weeks, basically a real fast, and water completely healed themselves of a number of different conditions.
Wow.
Then again, kidney is the battery, it's the basis. Kidney 1 meridian is the, that's the electrical center of your body. Very important idea to get on a very strong kidney supporting program. Generally, when you get hydrated, water and the appropriate amount of sea salt, and very pure sea salt. I just had some sea salt from New Zealand. I had some sea salt from Hawaii, the purest in the world. Then you start getting your water balance you start building the water balance. You have all the other things you add on, the herbs, the foods. Eventually, the whole chemistry comes together. Okay. We have a little bit of time?
We have no time. I'm
No.
sorry. I just want to thank Dr. McCullough. Thank you so much.
Hey, thank you.
Fantastic.
Please.